mentor really helped guide my success. So it's kind of relating what we should do here to what has happened to me in the past. So I was thinking about where in my life have I had a good mentor? It took me back to January of 1999. I was living in the fraternity house, having a great time in the big TV room, and it occurred to me that in about 4 months, I'm gonna have to move out. I had no idea where I wanted to live or what I wanted to do. Obviously, I wanted to be close to campus. I didn't want to live in the fraternity house again because there's quite a few distractions. We didn't even have a room on our door. There was 3 guys in that room, so you'd wake up and there'd be people in there all the time. Anyway, getting back to how I found my mentor. I decided the best result for me, because I planned on enjoying college for many years, is to buy a house. So I sought out an aggressive real estate agent, and his name was Nazar Simon. And I just told him my goal. I said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I've worked on some houses with my dad in the past, never bought a house, and I don't have any money, I don't have any credit, you know, I'm a college student. He's like, here, let me take you under my wing. And he actually put his arm around me and said, let's sit down, Bucky, and let's talk about this. And I said, okay. He's like, well, first you've got to find somebody that will give you some money. And you're a 19-year-old frat guy, and that's going to be a little bit hard, right? But you have leadership skills, you've done things, you've got a little bit that you can talk about. So I said, okay. He said, you need to find somebody that will give you a hard money loan, right? I said, what's a hard money loan? It's like, well, they just have cash and just give it to you. And then there'll be higher terms and higher interest rate than you would actually pay to a bank, but you can actually get a loan. So I said, okay, well, what do you think I can get? He's like, maybe 20 grand. I'm like, all right. And luckily in Pittsburgh State, the homes and stuff weren't expensive, right? You could find homes from 50 grand to 10 grand, depending where you wanted to live. So I said, what's next? He's like, go out and search out, and here's 100 homes. I'm like, 100 homes? He's like, you need to drive by and get to know the whole neighborhoods, where you want to live, where you want to be, what these homes look like from the outside, and then narrow it down to 25. And he said, after you get those 25, I'll send those to you, and then you can review all the pictures that I have on the inside. All right, and I just had blinders this way, just listening, taking the next step he told me to do, the next step, the next step, and the next step. So I went through that process, narrowed down to 25 to 10. He's like, okay, now it's time to jump in my car and we'll drive around, we'll go look at these 10. So we went through and looked at them all, and then this ugly Smurf house just kind of stood out to me. And he also said, look at the days on market list, right? I said, what is that? Well, it's the time that house has been listed on the market. He didn't have any pocket listing, meaning that stuff that wasn't listed on the market yet. He said, look at this house, let's look at the inside. We went back and did a second look. And he believed this could be a house that I could make a good offer on. I said, well, what should I offer? I don't know, just, if you're not going to insult the seller by your offer, then you're offering too high. So, okay, that makes sense. So the house was listed for $24,500. I said, okay, well, it's 16. He said, do 16,500. Right. So he submitted this offer for 16,500 because I had already found 20,000 from a hard money lender, which was good. So that was the essential part, because I can say, we can pay cash, you know, for this house. I don't have to go through traditional financing. There's not anything that you have to do to the house, because you noticed the roof needed a little bit of work. There were some few other things that needed to be done in the house, and the veracity of it just, I don't even think I used that right, but to go with it.
No, you get credit.
I can't read the definition, but anyway, I made the offer on the house, and they laughed. They said, no way, no way. They said, 20,000. And Nazar's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, that's all I have, right? The house needs a lot of work. I don't, have any extra money. I do have extra money from student loans I could throw in there, but I really wanted to do it all in one. He's like, well, we can make a counter. And I said, what should we counter? He's like, you can counter back the same price if you want. I said, let's do it. Huh? And we submitted it back. It said 16,500. And we didn't hear from him for like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, okay, well, it's almost February or March now, and it's getting closer to the time, like I'm gonna have to make some decisions if I'm gonna rent a house or whatever. And Nazar calls me, and I was just getting out of class. He's like, hey, Bucky, I got some good news, come see me. I'm like, okay. So I drove over to his office, which is down the road. He said, they took your offer. I'm like, what? Yeah. So he said, I swayed the real estate agent. So they took the offer, and I said, okay, what's next? He's like, well, we have to open up escrow and set a closing date and make sure the title's, been cleared and clean. So we went through that whole process, a meeting with the title company and set a close date. And within about, I think it was 3 weeks exactly, we were able to close on it and walk away with the property. But he said, whoa. First thing you need to do is go talk to the investor and tell him that you want this extra money because you got the house at a cheaper price. And said, you're gonna have to tell them why you want that extra money. I said, okay, that makes sense. He's like, we need to go do a scope sheet. Okay, kind of helped me out there. I understood construction. I built a couple houses in high school because I went through a carpentry program. And he was like, let's just go through the house, outline everything, and show them what you could do with that extra money and the value that it would return to the house. I said, that makes sense. So we walked through the house, and we just wrote out all the items that need to be fixed. Roof, change this Smurf blue house to something appealing to the curb, and a few other little things like cosmetics, paint, some new carpet and things like that. And the best part about it was a 3-bedroom that we could convert into it was a 2-bedroom with an office that we could convert to a 3-bedroom, allowing me to get 2 roommates, which would clear my note, and I could live rent-free, which was really cool. That was the goal. So we walked through it, put together the punch list, and presented that to the investor and said, hey, that extra, $4,500, we want to put it into this. The siding is going to cost this much. And we just broke down the cost. And then Nazar said, okay, this will really sell it if I show him the after ARV, after repair value. So he said, here's what the comps in the neighborhood are showing after repair value. This is what the property would be worth. So we presented that to the investor, and he said, okay, this house, after we do these things, is going to be worth $35,000, and you're going to I owe him $20,000. And we presented it, and he helped me because he was just kind of guiding me through the process. So there's some credibility, which mentorships provide, right? Presented it, and they said, okay. And then I went to work, right? Took possession of the house, had keys, and like, what do I do? So I just started doing all the things I knew because I'd put on siding before, and I'd done a lot of things working with my dad growing up, so kind of another mentorship. But that allowed me to really get the house done. I found 2 roommates to live with me, and actually they worked off their first couple months rent by helping me hang siding and paint and that stuff. So it worked out as they had, what would you say? Sweat equity in the house, so maybe they would respect it more, which was good. So we went through that process, fixed it up. In about 4 months, he's like, okay, the house looks good. And he's like, you know what you should do? You had a year to pay the investor back. You should go to the bank now. I said, okay. He's like, you have equity in the property now. It will be more valuable than what you owe, and then you can secure a note through a bank and pay off your investor and earn credibility. I said, okay, what do I do? He's like, go find a banker. And luckily, one of my other fraternity brothers worked at a bank. I said, hey, you need loan officers, and it was a local bank, so they're a little more open. And I started working full time in a millwork shop, so I had some paychecks coming in, and they said, hey, and I took in a portfolio of the before and after pictures of the house and showed all those things to them. The banker's like, okay. So they gave me a loan for, it was like $25,000 because I wanted a little extra money to do my next house, right? And they were excited about it, so they processed the loan, I paid off the investor, and then I walked out of there with $5,000 cash to do my next deal. So the importance of having a mentor is it saves a lot of steps, and it puts you on the right path to get there faster, so you don't get distracted by all the distractions that can get you off course. So as you go through Toastmasters, if you can team up with somebody, I'm sure all these people that have been here for a while have found that if they can network or talk to others, they can pursue through Toastmasters faster. So, thank you guys, appreciate your time.
Becky. That was an amazing story.